Hey everybody, welcome back to the saw shop. Today's video, this thing's been sitting for a couple more days. I think this should be the last bench video with this saw. And again, friends, remember, if you want to build an easy work saw without doing a ton of work, you can build this in just 163 easy videos. You can get a running power saw at the auction. This thing's turned into a little bit more work than I wanted it to be, friends, but it is what it is. It just goes to show you, just because you get a deal doesn't mean it's going to be a deal, right? Stuff that ends up at the auction often ends up there because it's a headache. So I'm happy that this turned out the way it did because it's real life, it's reality, and you guys saw that. Today's video, we're going to see, does this thing start now? The last video, I got impatient like I tend to be sometimes, and I turned the choke off. Well, the minute I did that and started pulling it over, I threw off the starting sequence. So today's video, I'm going to put the choke on and I'm just going to pull on this thing and see if it starts normally. I have readjusted the choke a little bit. We'll see if this thing starts. Hopefully this is the last bench video of this saw. So that's where we're at today. I wanted to take a couple moments to yak about a couple of things. The first is we hit 59,000 subscribers. I'm pretty proud of that. It's kind of, when I don't often stop and think about the size of channel that I have or anything like that, because that's just not how I am, right? I'm a hit the ground running kind of guy, but I stop and think about it. I thought about it this morning. I thought, wow, how cool is it to have done what I've done on YouTube? And of course, I've only been allowed to do it because you guys have supported my growth, and wherever I'm going, there's a core group of you. Whatever I do, you guys are here. So I just want to take the time to say thank you to my core group, and of course all the new subscribers and anybody that just jumps in here. We're all busy, and the fact that you guys give me your time, whether it be a little bit of time or a lot of time, I really appreciate it. So 59,000, the next will be 60. I remember years ago, I was like, wow, that would be cool if I got to 100,000 subscribers. Well, I'm just going to keep going until that happens. And, you know, you can never track which way your YouTube journey is going to go. The key, you know, people have asked me, or they'll say, I want to start a channel. How do I do that? I don't know how you do it, but I know how you don't do it. If you don't want your channel to grow, don't post regularly and be negative. Those are the two things, 100%. If you're negative on your channel, you won't go anywhere, and if you don't post regularly, you're not really going to grow. So that's the two ways. Once you get to a decent size, you can play with your posting schedule, but when you're building that core group, you got to be there all the time. So, and be positive. The world's a negative enough place. I think being positive is the way to go. So anyways, once again, thank you everybody for your support, and we're getting ready for Paul Bunyan. I'm leaving in about a week, friends, as you see this. So if you guys are in the area, Lower City, Ohio, not next weekend, the weekend after, I'll be at the Paul Bunyan show to meet as many of you guys as possible. And of course, I'm going to be there with that fellow they call Buck and Billy Ray Smith. I don't know if you've heard of him. I think he's a chainsaw guy. But please feel free, if you're around, stop in and say hello. I love meeting you guys. It was the first time I'd ever been to an event last year, and it was pretty cool. So anyhow, that's what I got to say. It is fall time. Lots of yard work to do. I'll probably do a few videos. I got to do some work to my trailer. The one I bought, it's been great. Super happy I bought it. I want to touch up some paint on that thing. I need to order 4 brand new tires for it. The right side tires are good, but they're cracked. The left side tires are not cracked, but they're bald. So the guy gave me 4 spare rims, and you know, he's been swapping tires as he goes. I like to put 4 brand new fresh tires on that thing so I don't have any problems for a lot of years. Got to do that, and then I need to go over my skid steer. That is my primary source of getting out of the yard in winter. My skid steer needs to run, and it needs to be able to clear snow. And so what I try and do every year is lift the cab, check for any unsightly oil leaks, fuel leaks, clean it up under there. Old skid steers leak hydraulic oil here and there, so I'll try and spray out the belly pan and then change the filters. I'm going to put a new fuel filter on it for sure and just kind of freshen it up. Also, friends, I need to replace the intake preheater. I bought a new relay last year, and the preheater that's in there, it's just a giant glow plug. It seems like it's drawing too much amperage, and it's cooking the wire. So I want to pull that out and put a new one in, rewire it, and get that going. So you guys will see a video of that, I'm sure. And I had a lot of trouble starting that thing last year when it gets cold. When I first got it, that thing would turn over half a turn and fire up in 30 below. It was an amazing starting machine, but I think, friends, I've had that thing for like 10 years. So, and really only put 500 or 600 hours on it in 10 years. It's a shame. It sits too much, but those Gale skid steers, they run like Swiss watches. That thing's been bulletproof. So, okay, friends, I'll stop flapping. All I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to put the saw on full choke, and I'm going to pull this thing over and see, does it start? Got to give this thing a fair shake. If it does, we'll shut it down. I will recap the entire build, and I think we'll call it a night. Can't run this thing because it's pouring rain, or I could, I just really don't want to. I don't feel like getting cold and wet tonight, so we'll leave it at that. And I got to switch gears, friends. I still have that Craftsman homeowner saw. Remember the one I was trying to make run? Well, I bought fuel line and stuff for it. It's not my saw. It's been here too long. I feel bad, friends. I'd like to get that thing running, or at least replumb it and see if we can get it to start. So we're probably going to do that on the next video. And then I'm going to grab a couple of saws off the shelf, and we're going to work on a couple of saws at once. Back to our roots, the way we used to do it. And I'm still hoping, friends, I know I've been saying I'm looking for the right Harley project. I'm probably going to deal the concourse. I don't know if I already mentioned that in this video. I mentioned it in another one. Just ergonomics, friends, it's not working for me. I'd like to get a Harley that needs some work and putter with it over the winter. Set it up in here and just putter and make it my own. Probably going to buy an Ultra Classic or a Road Glide. I never thought I would say that. I rented a Electric Glide Standard for a summer off my buddy. He had an Electric Glide Standard, and we called it the you-know-what wagon. It was a black Electric Glide Standard, and I remember that thing was so slow, I lost a race to a Dodge Caravan one day, and I said, I will never, ever get another one of these. Well, 20 years later, I'm like, kind of be nice to have a bagger or a Harley that's warm and dry, and I don't know how I feel about having a radio, but I mean, I think the main thing is, friends, I'd like my wife to come with me. She wasn't super happy with the concourse ergos, and I'm not good with the ergos either. And really, friends, I don't use the power of that bike. You saw in the video, yeah, I'll hammer down. Friends, I've had a lot of fast bikes. 1000cc sport bikes, stuff like that. I'm the kind of guy, I'm very comfortable with the power, but I don't use it anymore. I think I got responsible in my 40s. So anyhow, gonna look for the right Electric Glide, probably Ultra Classic, something like that. I'd like an Ultra just because it's got all the bells and whistles, and do some work to it. Anyhow, friends, I'll stop flapping. You guys know me, I can talk my way out of a paper bag. Let's set you guys up here. I'm just going to run and gun like I've been doing lately. Okay. Does this start? Wow, 9 minutes I yacked there. That was pretty good, eh? Was it good for you guys? Also this week, I want to clean the shop. It's not horrible, but it's at the point where I need to get ahead of it. Okay. Okay, look, friends. We have a full tank of fuel. I put the saw on choke. Okay, ready? Let's just pull it over and see what it does. 1, 2, 3, 4. how does it restart? I would call this, again, this saw makes some good compression. It's never been in the wood. I did one cut with it. And again, I showed you guys before. It's not quite there, but this thing will fire when you're just, you know, click, click. So I think the ignition is as advanced as I would put it. I could advance it probably a hair more, but it'd make the saw a little bit harder to start. I didn't want that. Again, no timing key in this saw, and I think I'll leave it like that because it's not going to fall off, friends. I get that all the time. Did you put a timing key in that saw? It's like, no, not going to either. Excuse me, friends. That two-stroke smoke is something. Okay, so again, to outline this project, the saw seems to run good now, so we're going to call it, you know, we're going to call it good. I bought this at an auction. I think I paid, and I'm going to tell you guys the price. I can't remember. You'd have to go back. I think I paid like $100 for this saw at auction, maybe 125, something like that. But I saw it was a red lever and it looked fairly clean. Again, I didn't drive way out of town to inspect it. The cases are a little rough, but when you lay the saw down on the shelf, I mean, side cover's in good shape. When you put the saw on its side like this, I mean, it looks legit. It looks real legit. So, okay, put the side cover on. I bought the saw at auction, sight unseen. I never looked at it. I wanted to see, could I just blindly go and buy it? Okay, this saw was completely blown up. And again, this is all on a playlist, so please feel free to go back on the playlist. When I first went to fire the saw, it wouldn't start. It needed a fuel line, okay? And then, if I remember correctly, and I'd have to look at the piston had a little bit of wear on it, but it wasn't horrible. I then opted to tear the saw completely down and put bearings, seals, gaskets, all new rubber, and a piston, okay? If you priced all that stuff out from Wolf Creek, the gasket kit from Highway is like $15, maybe $12. We'll say $15, maybe even 20. The piston is like $35-40, so we'll say $60 between the two of them. Maybe another $50 for bearings, and intake's about 10, and fuel lines. So I probably got, you know, another $100. So I'm into this saw for about $225. Canadian, friends. Now that's Canadian. And again, now to buy this saw here locally is $400. Okay, that's what these go for. Guys love these things. They ain't giving them away. $400 for a clean one, maybe $500. This saw is in 8 out of 10 condition if you don't see that. I'll still call it 7 out of 10 because it is super nice looking. This saw is $400 here all day long. So, I still think we made out okay. Did I have runnability problems? Yep. Do I still need an air filter? Yep. But other than that, friends, I did put a new spark plug in there. But again, I buy those when they're on sale. I buy them 10 or 12 at a time. And, you know, that's just the cost of doing business. Other than that, though, and again, we did not... Where's my book here, friends? Do I have my book? Again, because we're running and gunning. Where's my porting book? Here it is. On the shelf here. Okay. What did I do to this saw, friends? Let's look for the piece of paper. Okay, so this saw, I did not touch the exhaust roof. I widened the exhaust slightly. My blowdown was 17 degrees on this saw. I left it at 17 degrees. My intake opened at 67 and closed at 67. So 134 duration. Okay. I added about, what, 5 or 6 degrees of duration Okay, I think we're in the mid 140s now. I didn't add a ton. Remember, if you start with a very limited intake timing, don't add too much because you're probably going to end up spitting back through the carb. There's a reason why there's not a lot of intake timing on this saw. The cases are super tight. There's not a lot of case capacity in this saw. And that's partially why these saws are grunty. And they are. These saws pull pretty hard down low or in the mid-range. Okay? If I over-intake the saw, I would over-pressurize the bottom end. So think about that when you have limited intake duration. Also look at the width of your intake. Look at a Mac. A Mac is like this. The intake opens and closes very quickly. It opens late and it closes early, and you go, how do these things even run? But the intake's this wide, okay? So you have to think about all these things. I lowered the transfers, which added case capacity, which, again, if I add case capacity and I give this thing more intake timing, I may end up with the same case pressure as I did stock, depending, right? So it all goes together, right? So I lowered the transfers, and all I did was ramp them. I wanted this to go away, and I did this with the transfer so the air could flow in. I ported the piston, smoothed it, and chamfered it, and made it really slippery. And then, okay, the last thing that I did is I cut my intake timing into the intake. I did not change the shape, width, or height of the intake or floor of the intake. I textured it, and I cut all my intake timing on the piston, okay? Really, friends, the only porting done to this is on the transfers and a little bit of width on the exhaust port. That's it. I ported this saw in about 20 minutes, and then another half an hour on the piston, and that was that, friends. So, again, there's not a lot of work done to this, and when we put a bar and chain on this, it'll be strong. Is it going to be an orangutan? No, but that's not what we built it for. You know, anybody can build a really nasty saw. You can throw the kitchen sink at it. Oftentimes that saw is not going to start very well. It's not going to idle, and it's going to run hot. It takes a lot of skill. I'm finding as I do this longer to hold back and give those little extras where you can get away with them without getting rid of something else. Okay. You want to give the saw more power and usability without making it harder to use, or it becomes a shelf queen, if that makes sense. So, anyhow, friends, I would say this thing's fixed. 5 pulls, that's not horrible. That's kind of how these saws are, these old 26s. So the next step for this thing is to bar and chain it up and cut some wood. So next time you see this saw, we'll be in the yard doing yard work, and I'll use it as a farm saw because that's what I built it for. Anyhow, 59,000 subscribers. Thank you to everybody that's been here and all the newcomers. If you're new here, introduce yourself. I love seeing new names and new comments. It's neat. There's always new people coming in. If you're new here, go to my channel and click on my playlists. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos and probably 30 or 40 playlists. If you're looking for something, I've probably done a video series on it. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy. I think this thing's finally fixed. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to jinx it. Later.